Hi, this is Brent with CRT Services. Today we're going to show how to take a external process value, whether it's a temperature, pressure, density, and bring that in on a communication sheet, and then use that for the temperature, pressure, or density that's in use on this flow computer. So in this example that I have set up, we have a application, and in that application, we have created some connections to some remote flow computers. And you'll see that we have two connections made up: connect to flow computer 2 for run 1 and connect to flow computer 2 for run 2. Now, what's important here is when we create this new calculation, that we have to reference this device ID or the device number. Every communication sheet that we add in gets a unique device number, and we want to make sure that that device number that we're referencing stays the same. So if I make a change to any of these communication sheets and I've written logic in the calculations that reference device number 1, then I want to make sure that device number 1 is always this template. And I can do that simply by, when I add a template in, by going up and hitting the device number and changing the device number up here if I need to match what I've set it up as. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into calculations, and we're going to create a new write command that is going to take the value for meter temperature off of the remote run communication template or a communication sheet that's pulling a remote flow computer, and use that for the run 1 temperature on the local module that we have. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and start a new write command. So up top there is a pencil, and I'm going to hit new write value. And the first thing it's asking for in the name is, what is the tag I want to write to? And you can see on the right-hand side that it says we're going to set this on condition. So whenever this condition is true, we're going to go ahead and write to that value or the tag, and we'll write to it with the value that we have here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to first of all look for the tag I need to write to. Now, all of the FlowX process inputs, temperature, pressure, density, you'll see that on the drop-down selections, you have selections for things like communications, for custom, for analogs, and so forth. We're going to use the custom. And what we're going to do is there's a tag on each one of these process values that has the beginning of the tag name, but then the end of it is custom value. So I use custom underscore val. And if I hit search, it's going to go ahead and bring up in the application every custom value that I can write to. So I would use any of these if I wanted to write to this process input another value. So in this case, we said we want to write to meter run number 1 temperature. So I'm going to take the meter temperature for run 1, the custom val, and I'm going to take that, bring it up, and drop it in name. So that's the tag I'm going to write to. Now, what's the value I want to write to it? Well, I want to write to with the value that's on that remote communication sheet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my view to a tree view. And when I click on tree view, I'm going to go ahead and delete out the text string that I was searching for. And now I can look at the particular devices I'm going to be connecting to. And you can see on these devices, I have a run 1. So I click on run 1. I know that that's the communication template that's connected to run 1 for the flow computer that I want. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to take a look and I'm going to see, okay, I'm looking for temperature. So the meter temperature, and I bring this up and I'm going to direct that in value. I'll put a help description in here. Write meter temp from remote FC to run 1 meter temp. And then the condition, now this is a set on condition. So every calculation cycle that this is true, it's going to write this temperature. Well, I want it to do it every calculation cycle regardless. So I'll go ahead and hit 1. And every calculation cycle, it'll go ahead and write that temperature that it pulled from the remote device and write it to run 1's temperature. So once that's done, I would go ahead and I would go write this to the flow computer. So then I log into my flow computer when it reboots back up. I go into configuration, run 1, temperature, and instead of using an analog input for meter temperature A input, I tell it to use custom. It will go ahead and then read the value off that custom input and use that for my temperature.